Hello. I've got this really quick because to begin with, see the sun's twatting about. Oh, this is- no, to begin with, this is my third go at this. The first one just sort of bored me senseless. I watched it back and the second one, for some reason, iMovie decided to crash, right near the end, and then I edited it together, but then for some reason it wouldn't save. It was like, what was bloody was going on? And then I realised it was just because iMovie had crashed, so I had to close iMovie, which was a bit of a ball ache anyway. And things, But anyway, that's this is all about PS1 games. So I'll try not to twat about any longer. Um, Only 5 games, so hopefully it'll be pretty quick. And yeah, actually, I was able to save the old one, the second one, and watch it back, and that was just as boring as the first one. I've got a bit more sugar in my system this time, so hopefully be a bit more enthusiastic and lively. Do I look like I've just got up? It's not been that long since I got up, but so it's pretty early in the morning. But you see, the light looks slightly different from it normally does in my videos. Anyway, shit, I'm knackered. First game. 2 of these I've not really played that much, so I can't really say too much about them. The first one is Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. I used to have Blood Omen, and I played it, and it's not a bad game. It's nicely collectible now, but it's just sort of the overly sombre atmosphere. Just don't know. Having said that, I mean, what's Kagero Deception 2 if it's not sombre and gothic and sort of slightly downbeat? But that was. For some reason, Blood Omen, don't know. And I think maybe that's informed my lack of enthusiasm to play this, because I know this reviewed brilliantly when it was first released. When it's like a sort of third-person action platform, I suppose. Could you call it? It's almost open world, which I've played sort of the odd sort of 5 minutes here and there, but it's never actually. I mean, it's on my list, but what is it? This character is called Raziel, and you begin and he's cast into the abyss by Cain, and you have to. I'm thinking the old idea is you have to sort of reap revenge, and most of it's sort of platforming and sort of puzzle solving and combat. But it looks great. I mean, the animation is really smooth. I really like the way you can sort of pull weapons off the walls and start sort of twatting things with them. But I think there's sort of like a light, and you can go between realms. You can go between sort of the real world and then sort of some sort of dark realm. It's like you just go through portals, and every time you kill something, you have to sort of reap the soul, which to sort of replenish your health and stuff like that. I think, but yeah, I won't try not to talk too much about it because it's one that I've again not really played, so that'd be a bit silly, wouldn't it? But I remember the reviews were just sort of mind blowing when it was first released. Right, Legends of Dragoon, lots of L's, lots of legends. So that might suggest it's RPG heavy, and if you think that, then you'd probably be right. 3 out of 5, I'll give you. There you go. That's a clue. No, that's not a clue. That's a fact. Legends of Dragoon. I can remember seeing this in MVC when I was at university and thinking, yeah, I'd quite like to buy that, but then I didn't really feel like I should spend my student loan on a £40 video game. So and sort of down the line, I sort of first became aware of it properly when I sort of started collecting, sort of back in the early 2000s, and I looked into it, and I can remember reading actually it was a teletext article on the old Game Central, and they were talking about Panzer Dragoon Saga and how much they loved it. I thought, is that the same game? Obviously getting confused with the name Dragoon, but no, it's not the same game. This is more like Sony's response to Final Fantasy VII, because obviously you've got your main central character who's a sort of a blonde, spiky-haired kid who throughout the game he's got a big sword as well. They've all got big swords. They like big swords. People in RPGs were. Yeah, and obviously, sort of, he finds himself. Finds himself throughout the game and defeats an evil empire. I've not completed it, so it's all pre-rendered backgrounds and random battles. Love the pre-rendered backgrounds and lots of FMV. I think it's 4 discs. I think a lot of the FMV is all the cinematics takes up a lot of space. So it's a big game, but random battles again. Very, I suppose it's quite standard in that sense. I mean, I think the main idea, the Dragoon idea, is the fact that you can sort of part of the way through the game you can utilise your ability along with your the companions that you recruit that you meet who fight alongside you. You all get the abilities to develop into dragons, but you have to use that sparingly because magic. There's lots of inventory management in this game. The inventory is a bit not really small, and you often find yourself in the bigger dungeons running out of items like health items and stuff, and then you have to manage how much magic you use and stuff like that. So battles, especially boss battles, involve lots of defending. So in that sense, it's not quite so sort of fluid as sort of other RPGs because you're sort of slightly distracted from them. There's always fiddling around with conserving items and stuff, which is a bit annoying. But it's still a really good game. But it doesn't quite hit the heights of Final Fantasy VII, which is obviously it's a reaction to, isn't it? And it's sort of like when you can morph into a dragon partway through. That's part through the game, you'll get the abilities to morph into dragons, and then there's a whole new load of abilities and attacks. But I think the battles are sort of they're random encounters and they're turn based, but there's a system where you have sort of set attacks, and each attack involves a certain amount of timed button presses. There's a little icon, and you have to sort of time the button press so that it corresponds to a hit in each attack. So obviously, as you get down the game, you gain sort of more attacks, more sort of better attacks, and then each one of them involves a certain amount of timed button presses. And obviously, it's up to you to time the button presses so that you can initiate the attacks, which I'm shit at. So I tend to struggle in this game, but and if you don't get the right number of button presses, it just does a half-assed version or sort of a lesser version of one of the old attacks, or a half-assed version of the one that you're hoping for. But it's recommended. I recommend this, but it's when I first bought it on eBay, came through the post, and it's got two. I've got to say, actually, it's got two manuals. It needs 2 manuals for some reason. I don't know why it's got 2 manuals. I've not actually read the manuals, but it's got 2 of them. It's 4 discs. It's got everything my copy has. It came through the post, and I bought it for about 30 quid, I think. And that's going back a few years, and I think it's moved on slightly from there, and probably over 40 now. So, but it came through the post, and it said, it's great condition when I bought it. I think it was on auction, and opened up the package, and I thought, brilliant, and it's as good as I thought it was. And the first thing I did was drop it. It survived, but Legends of Dragoon. It's a big epic RPG, like in the sort of I suppose the tradition of big epic RPGs. But comparatively, all the Final Fantasies, it's probably the biggest and the most epic RPGs on the PS1. It's one of those, but it's by Sony. I think that's what it's by Sony's response to Legends of Cartia. This is sort of slightly low-key turn-based strategy RPG. It's probably got a similar sort of standing as Eternalize from the E's. It's pretty low-key, quite standard. By Atlas though, so that makes it collectible. You've got like a core of, pardon me, excuse me. I've got a core of characters who fight with you, but the main battle party are these things called phantoms that you can summon, and you can you summon them through the battles actually. and you can summon different sort of types with different abilities, and for different sort of core magic and stuff like that. So and so you can summon like fighters, like different sorts of beasts, and they fight alongside you. Actually, the art style of the Phantoms reminds me a lot of one of the early ogre battle games, or is it Tactics Ogre? I can't remember. I think it must be on the SNES. It's almost like a uniform sort of set, quite uniform, like characters that fight for you. Just it's yeah. I'm not saying it's sort of in that league, but yeah, it's quite sort of low key. Sort of like most tactical RPGs, it's sort of menu driven and dialogue driven, and there are cutscenes, and cutscenes are sort of use the game engine. There's no sort of, so I think might be the odd bit of animation or FMV, but mostly it's cutscenes are using the game engine, and the art style in the character portraits is quite nice. Actually, it's quite interesting and unique. But other than that, it's sort of the cutscenes are all game engine, but it's pretty low key. Not a bad game. I think in America it's Cartier something. It's not Legend of Cartier in America. It's Cartier Legend of something. Just fiddle around with the title. But, not bad. Not too expensive actually. I mean that's probably sort of slightly over £10, but I wouldn't pay more than that. Purely for collectability purposes. This is a slightly overlooked game. Unfairly overlooked. I think it's called Legends of Vigaya and Other Legends. There you go. If it's got legend in it, it's generally an RPG. This came out the same year as Final Fantasy VIII. I think it was overlooked for that reason because it uses big old chunky polygons like Final Fantasy VII does, and I think obviously that they were a bit old hat at the time. Obviously, because it's always going to be compared to the brand Ari Spanker's new Final Fantasy VIII with its slightly more realistic looking characters and all this art style and more detailed characters. But this is all chunky polygons with pre-rendered backgrounds. Though I love pre-rendered backgrounds. In the last version of this video I went off some sort of bollocks about pre-rendered backgrounds and how they give the developers. What was it? They give the developers sort of reign to make them. I can't remember what it was. It was bollocks anyway. I'm just trying to make all this shit off the top of my head, but it was to do with how much I love pre-rendered backgrounds because they can take a lot of time over creating them. I think that was the vague point I was trying to make. It's just looking dark. It's looking quite dark. Don't really know, but hopefully the sync doesn't drop. Actually, in the last version, I had this right balls up and I had to sort of resync my voice to the image. But yeah, you play this time. You're a blue-haired, spiky-haired teenage boy, and you live in an out-of-the-way village like most of them do. And your village is surrounded by this sort of evil mist, which is corrupting and mutating all the animals into monsters. And you have to venture out with a little plucky band of companions to venture out to go and sort out whatever's going wrong. But I think it's unfairly overlooked. Actually, it's probably deserves sort of more plaudits than it gets because it's sort of obviously it's been overshadowed by more high-profile games. But I really like the battle engine. It's random battles and it's sort of turn-based, but it obviously takes fighting games as inspiration because it involves it's basically the combat is all sort of bare-handed sort of combat. It's based on martial arts, and I think it takes fighting games and fighting game combos as inspiration because each attack and each ability that you gain involves to trigger it. You have to do a sort of set amount of button presses, but not in real time. You're like obviously in a sort of a one-on-one fighter when you're doing like a combo. It's all button presses in real time. In this, it's button presses like sort of up, down, left, right, whatever. But then you trigger it and it plays out, so it's not in real time. That's how you attack. Yeah, and I really like that actually. I mean, I think if anything, you can actually sort of fiddle around, just press random buttons and see what happens. but generally you learn all these abilities and you learn how to trigger them through the game. But I think to begin with they're quite basic, and then they're called arts. I think they get to hyper arts and other sorts of arts. You know, they go up in sort of stages. You know, and at the end of the game, you're a proper rock hard bastard. But there's a second game, so it must have done pretty well. There's a second game on the PS2 called Dragoon Saga, which is pretty much the same sort of thing. But yeah, this is Legends of Legaia. What else can I say about it? Have I said about the pre-rendered backgrounds? I think I have. But there you go. Good game. Actually, yeah, oh, no. Loaded! Not an RPG, it's called Loaded. Bollocks. This is what I didn't do. And when I decided I was going to remake this video, I thought I'm going to go back and check out who the artist was, because I'd made the point in the last two versions of this video that the guy who designed these characters was an artist who worked on 2000 AD, and he did all these other comic book strips. And one of them's Slain. I can't remember the other characters he did. One of them was Slain. But you can see, I really love this guy's artwork. It's just stunning. Just the details, amazing. They're all quite grotesque. All quite like this character here. It's called Fwank, and he's like a sort of grotesque clown, scary clown. The idea is it's a run and gun. I suppose it's sort of top-down isometric type sort of thing. Run and gunner, and you're in a lunatic asylum. I think you're all generally lunatics in a asylum hospital or something. You have to escape. I didn't pay attention to the storyline. I'm not sure it's got much of a storyline. No, I think it has, but it's not that important. Yeah, and a lot of them, the main hook of the game is all the blood and guts, and it appeals to sort of teenage boys, you know, in that sense. But music by Pop Will Eat Itself. You said read that. Pop Will Eat Itself. Who remembers them? I do. I think sort of. Yeah, it's a sort of top-down run and gunner. I like the sense of humour. It's all, there's a lot of comic book violence. There's lots of blood and guts. I quite like the sense of humour because it's quite childish though. Like this character's called Fwank, like Frank, but with a W instead of an R. And this guy here is the top. He's almost like a weird sort of cowboy, dual wielding cowboy, and he's called Cap and Hands. There's all these other characters. I think this character here is a bit of a baby. And one of them's I think this one's a cross-dresser. And you've obviously got the sexy lady there with the big norks. And a dude with a big jaw at the top, and I can't remember the other one is. But this you get to choose from them at the beginning, all the characters. And then they all play quite differently, so which is good. I think it'd probably be more entertaining, better in two-player. But because I've only ever played it in one player, and it's big levels. I won't deny it. They can get a bit tedious and samey, but I think it'd probably be better. Like I said, it'd probably be better in two-player. I mean, you can strafe in it. You can hold down the L1 button and strafe, so you can sort of lock your firing position, which really helps. But I was jamming my thumb into last time I played. I was jamming my thumb into the D-pad so hard I gave myself a whacking great blister on the end of my thumb. That says a lot. What is it? You get this. It comes with two manuals. I think the second one's Scandinavian. So although that's not a Finnish flag. If correct me if I'm wrong. You got Denmark, obviously Sweden, and that's not anything, is it? I think it's supposed to be Finnish, but it ain't. So he's got his It comes with two manuals. This one's really chunky. Look at that. So it's got two manuals. Dirt cheap. Should be able to get on eBay dirt cheap. But there's all the characters in it. It's all black and white. But this made me laugh. Actually, power-ups are a bit disappointing because it just basically powers up your one weapon. Each character has its own weapons, and you collect these icons that just basically power up your one weapon, which is a bit disappointing. And it's not always evident. I mean, I think when I played as Frank, essentially it all just makes your fireballs bigger. This made me laugh. It's about when you choose a level, you don't choose like level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. It says level select of difficulty, choosing the following. This is the different classifications. Players are fairies. This is what that means. Players are fairies. Train spotters and stamp collectors only. Next one up. Players are boring. Members of choirs and people who still go shopping with their mums. Next one up. Players are confident. When you're not playing games, you're a stunt double for Schwarzenegger. Players are brutal. You're a hard bastard and your friends regularly tell you so. And the last one. Players are loaded. Tyson, Nassim, Van Damme, Manson and Rollins. Pussies. That made me laugh because it not only does it shows, sort of its age, like Tyson and Nassim, and Van Damme for that matter. But then it's got Manson. Which Manson's that? There's a whole number of Mansons. It could be Marilyn Manson. I'm not so sure. Although this sort of, you could sort of see Marilyn Manson in this game in a way. Weirdly, he's not unlike any one of these characters. Wait, is it Charles Manson? I'm guessing that's what it is, Charles Manson, because I think they're all in a high security prison. They're all like criminals and have to escape. Or is it Shirley Manson from Garbage? Or Rollins? Henry Rollins? Is that Henry Rollins? Or there's not a serial killer called Rollins, is there? Henry Rollins is just in a band. He's a weird, intense dude with a thick neck. But yeah, it's not a bad game. Basically, it involves just killing everyone and finding key cards to get through the doors and open up other sections of the level. But yeah, it's loaded. These are the owls. All the owls. There you go. Loaded, Legend of Cartier, Legend of Legaia, Legend of Cartier, Legend of Dragoon, and Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Right, it's pretty bit longer than I thought it was going to be. But look out for the M's. There's lots of M's, a load of M's. Good M's as well. It's a good standard in the M's. A nice mixture of stuff. So that'll be along very soon. So look out for that. And thanks for watching. See you later.